want to educate our viewers who are watching this live coverage with Maharashtra once again, can we? So we've added two more of the exit polls to the Maharashtra figures. So now we have 6 here again. PMark, Matrix, People's Pulse, Chanakya, Lokshahi and the Dainik Bhaskar exit poll. Now have a look at it. The polls that have gotten added, Chanakya is giving 152 to 160. So majority for Mahayuti, an incumbent led by BJP. Lokshahi says no. It is a hung parliament with the others, which means the rebels, getting more than 20 seats who are going to become kingmakers. So Lokshahi says 128 to 142 for the Mahayuti, not enough to form a government. 125 to 140 for the MVA, not enough to form a government, which means even on the basis of pre-poll alliances, that's a hung house with the others playing a factor. The Dainik Bhaskar poll is the only poll here which is giving a clear advantage to the MVA. Dainik Bhaskar says 135 to 150 for now what is the Congress-led MVA and 125 to 140 for the Mahayuti, which would mean that even though there is a range of 15 seats, the range favors the MVA with again 20 seats for the others. That's a chunky sum. Now, how does this impact the median poll of polls? It impacts the median poll of polls slightly because the median average for the Mahayuti has now come down to 153 with the addition of these 3 sets of figures. The MV at 127 and others have increased to about 8 or 10 seats. Now, what this means, ladies and gentlemen, is that 6 polls are now out. The median figure says Mahayuti advantage, forming government, getting past 145 mark with 153 as a median average. The MV at 127. Before I get in both Mr. Bagri and Mr. Joshi, let me get a quick word back in from Priya. Priya, now we've educated with more numbers. I know all of them to be taken with a pinch of salt, which is why we're putting all of them out there. So nobody can say, hey, you guys got it right or wrong. We just got all of them out and maybe all of them were right or wrong. Priya, your quick thoughts on what the updated figures tell us.
I think the updated figures reflect the confusion on the ground. Really, I don't think anybody, is really sticking their neck out. Especially if you take out the average. It looks like an advantage, especially in Maharashtra, since I know a bit more about that than Jharkhand. Advantage to the Mahayuti, I would agree with that in that sense, because there was more of a definite plan. There was the BJP has been working full time. Ever since Haryana. I think before Haryana also they had already got the egos in check. They had got this ticket distribution also pretty sorted. It was more coherent campaign from the BJP side, from the Mahayuti side, while Mahavikas Aghadi was more in reaction to the welfare schemes were announced. It was very interesting. The welfare schemes were announced soon after the Lok Sabha election. Shinde could have done it for Lok Sabha also, but no, he wanted to keep the impact for the assembly elections. He announced it in August, in time for Rakhi, the first installment, and he started building up the narrative from August onwards. If you see the way they were working, the BJP and Eknath Shinde at least, Ajit Pawar is actually going to be the difficult person to predict in the alliance. He was the outcast. He's been fielding his candidates of his choice. He was not getting support from a lot of them. He tried to get into a turf war with Eknath Shinde over the Ladki Ladli Behna scheme also. So there was Ajit Pawar's role, I would say, as we were discussing earlier, it can be filled in by another Pawar because everything is so fluid. We still don't know the combination that went in for the polls. Will that same combination be there when the poll results come out?
Okay.
Will there be another midnight swearing in? Maharashtra is going to be very interesting.
Okay, let's take some thoughts in before I get the politicians. And Sakshana Salgar of the NCP faction of Sharad Pawar joins us on the broadcast as well. Before I come to you, man, Piyush Joshi, your thoughts now.
Well, my thoughts are still the same. However, there are 2 interesting factors that I would like to comment upon and I would like to be observing very closely. One is the number of EVMs which are charged above 90% in these elections, at the time of counting. And another is the voting percentage. How much fraction does the voting percentage increases by in the days to come? So these are the 2 things that I will be observing very, very closely. I am, totally in for as much transparency as possible when the elections are concerned. So these 2 factors I have to be observing very closely because the EVMs cannot be charged above 90%. So if there are no EVMs charged above 90%, we should rest that controversy once and for all. And if the voting percentage again goes up by 3 to 4%, at least in the days to come, then things are very interesting. And I think the Election Commission should come out and do some explaining. So these two factors are very, very
Okay,
interesting.
EVM
I agree with
suspicions
Priya on one remark.
and more
that the things
traditional
are
voting percentage. Voting percentage seems to have gone up this time. We are expecting it marginally up. Now, in an election, every percentage, per 1% of a vote can make a huge difference in the results. We've seen that in the Lok Sabha, we've seen that in other assembly elections. So, is that a factor? For sure? We'll have to come back and analyze this. Rishi Bagri, your quick